Hi everyone, I'm Wa.
And I'm Chris, and welcome to Docu-Sweeties.
We're two longtime friends to discuss the riveting and sometimes trashy world of reality TV and docuseries.
Yes, but through our own lens, which can be peppered by our own saltiness or perhaps our own spiciness, but at the end of the day, hopefully mildly sweet. Yay!
Yay! This is
Uh,
Patreon only. Guys, we messed up last
oh my
time
God, we guys,
and
let's be honest. You guys, we fucked up. Listen, we fucked,
yeah.
but you won't know. We want to tell you because it looks weird, but most people won't know. But you are, of course, behind the scenes. Wad did it, so Wad will talk about it.
Oh, I was going to talk about it. Okay. Yes. So what happened is that we were supposed to do 3 couples for the free feed, meaning our podcast where nobody pays and they just listen. And then we're going to do 3 couples for y'all. But I got my math wrong. And we did Tiffany and Ronald when we should not have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to surreptitiously cut Tiffany and Ronald out of the other one and then just like put it in Patreon. So you're going to have these 2 couples now, and then you're going to see a separate video or audio or something of Tiffany and Ronald. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to do it. I want to do a little bit of my intro like the Queen, because I think that y'all should watch our or listen to our podcasts. Or yeah, you guys already watched it. It's on your Patreon already. Hello, I'm Wa.
Mm-hmm.
We're 2 long-time friends who discuss the riveting and sometimes trashy world of reality TV and docuseries.
God, if only there was the word Commonwealth in.
No, docuseries amongst the commoners of the Commonwealth.
Yeah. Honey, we're a very stable docuseries. You think these are stability in our docuseries?
And continuity.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
without technical difficulty. I can't do it.
we're doing it without technical difficulties. Like she just like the way she ends some of her sentences are just so concerning to me. It's like she doesn't sound like Adele, you know what I'm saying? You know, she's not like, well, woohoo, I'm so excited to be here. Like, you know.
No, she wouldn't say thanks. Thanks, everyone. Thanks. I love thanks.
But she's also not like the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. She's like rain in Spain stays mainly on the plain. Like she's just like okay. Anyways, so let's talk about Debbie.
Well, first of all, we're talking about just so you know, if you don't know what you're talking about, we never said it, so we just might as well say it. We're talking about 90 Day Fiance. This is the single life wrap up of season 3. This is the part 2. So what had happened was on our podcast, we wanted to give, of course, 3 couples.
We already said this.
And so, yeah, this is the part 2 of the 2 couples. Anyway, go on, Wa.
Okay, so listen. What? Somebody said, you know what, Debs? We like you. Mm-hmm. And we would like to put you on Single Life. But before we put you on Single Life, we have to set you up for success. So what we're going to do is we're going to dye that hair. And we're going to get you some new clothes. And you can still put your glasses. You can still like put your glasses on your forehead. And you can still squint whenever you want to. But when there are opportunities for you to be on camera, you will wear the clothes that we have set out for you the night before.
And fake eyelashes.
Yeah. And so now we have this voice, which Chris does a really great impersonation of this voice. We have this voice coming out of a face that we recognize, but don't really. Well, I can't do it because it's like just like a lot of spit in her jaw or something like that she does. I don't know how do you make that sound happen, Chris?
God, it's like we can't hear right.
me and it's like Yoda. It's like me and Cole. Me and Cole.
I don't know what's wrong with Coachy. He says I wasn't a mother, but I was. I know it's so weird. It's weird. So I'll tell you right now that we have done 3 episodes of the Harry and Meghan docuseries, but I said this in one of the episodes, and I'll say it now again, but nothing pales it pales in comparison to this true love story. Because oh my God, Debbie just meets some dude on the internet, and this whole season is her and Tony's love affair, and they just met. I mean, like, I don't know if they met on the Instagram where she's wearing a dog filter and he just knew, honey, that like her activist work would make her perfect to be his queen. I'm not quite sure if that's what happened, but it feels like that's what happened.
It's
Uh,
I mean, so we start off and she's getting into dating, right? And she meets with her biddies and she's doing, I mean, her biddies need to take a note out of her playbook. Like her biddies still have their gray hair. They still look better than she looked when she wasn't dressed up. They still look like they still kind of care. Whereas like Debbie had like thrown in the fucking towel. You know, she'd thrown in the beach towel. She'd thrown in the bath sheet.
she's older than them though.
Yeah.
She's like at least 20 or at least 15 or 20 years older than on the other people that she hangs out with.
Oh, no. I would say she's 70 and they're like 62.
Okay. Well, she's like, but yeah.
The Asian lady is like,
Yeah,
the Asian lady might be 70. I mean,
you would never
she's
know.
great.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she's meeting with them a few times and they talk about their new lease on life or whatever. And she goes on these dating apps and she, as far as I know, I don't remember her having any other dates besides Tony, but maybe she did.
No,
But Tony's okay. So yeah, Tony's in Canada and they have just been a talking. I mean, a yip, yip, yap every single day. And then Tony comes down to visit her, and it is the sweetest reunion. I mean, she starts crying, and he is like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and he like holds her while she's like boo-hooing, and then they like have sex, and she brings the lube, and it's like good, and we see her in lingerie, and this tattoo on her titty, is it new? It looks new. It's very vibrant.
Yeah, it almost looks like a brand new fake tattoo. It looks like a child's fake tattoo from the 90s because it's very
because it's so small and you can still see all the detail and it's so bright and colorful. I'm just like, is that an old tattoo that she got revitalized or is it fake?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a blue butterfly, and the blue butterfly on Instagram or at least like in social media was sort of like a code. I don't think Debbie knows this, or maybe she does, or I don't think it is, but blue butterfly, like as an emoji, is sort of like used within like the anorexic community to like either discuss eating disorders and or someone who's like going through it or has been going through or has overcome it, or it's like kind of like, I don't know, it's certain emojis are like copped by certain cultures and communities.
Oh, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Do you remember this really tiny YouTuber who never talked about her eating disorder? Her name was Eugenia. No, you don't. Those of you out there who are like avid YouTubers,
she passed away, right?
Did she pass away?
Okay, then wrong person. Just kidding. I don't know.
But she kind of disappeared off of it, so she might have. But yeah, she garnered tons and tons of views, and she literally never talked about the fact that she had an issue, but she was very clear based on the way she looked, and she would do like try-ons and everything. Anyways, so Debbie then meets Tony and they like cry, sex. And then things are moving very fast. And she has a conversation with Colt and tells Colt about it. But Colt is just like, I want to have a relationship with you. And the whole time Vanessa's sitting next to him. And all I can think of is like, Vanessa, do you really give it to Colt 5 times a day? Because Larissa couldn't keep up. Like Colt has a very high sex drive. And like usually guys with high sex drives end up getting with like more than one woman. And like maybe Vanessa's handling it. But Vanessa and Colt had to separate themselves from Debbie from whatever last season that they were on together where Debbie walks off stage, because Colt keeps trying to tell Debbie that she's smothered him and that she's kind of made this codependent lifestyle and he wants to break free from it. And she continuously makes him feel guilty. And she refuses, as indicative by her generation, to acknowledge her role in her son's unhappiness and just says, well, I don't think I was a bad mom. I did everything for Colt. I don't think anything was wrong with it. And he's like, I'm not saying you're terrible. I'm just saying that you smother me and you're not letting me live my life. And so I need to like separate from you for a second. So she's reeling off of that. And whenever her and Colt get into a fight, she goes to Tony and Tony has to calm her down. And then at some point, Tony is in Las Vegas, and she's very happy, and she wants Colt and Tony to meet. And Colt is kind of like, oh, I've never seen my mom with anybody but my dad, and so it's kind of weird, but I want her to be happy and move on. And she has a conversation with Tony where she's like, I want you to get along with my son. And he's like, listen, I'll get along with him, but he better not say anything crazy to you, because then I'm gonna have to say something to him. And I always think that is like the wrong attitude to have, but that's the attitude that Tony has. And so we just watch this season as she falls in love with someone who obviously is in love with her, and they're the latter years of their life, and people are like, oh, you're moving too fast. And I'm like, you can't move fast enough at 70. Like,
yeah.
full fucking speed ahead. Like, she's already lived a whole life of being safe. If the woman wants to move to Canada, she can move to Canada. And there's all these jokes about like he might bury her in like whatever. And I'm like, neither of these people are strong enough to carry each other up or down stairs, dead or alive. So she'll be fine.
At what age do people like keep their goddamn opinions to yourself because you can live your life? You know, like, how do you tell? How do you just like look at a Debbie who's just 70, who knows what, and just like tell her anything about how she's living? I mean, like, well, you should take it slow. You should think about it twice. Well, have you, like, what if it's like? I mean, if she hasn't sort of cemented the decision-making person that she is, and her own goals, and how she moves through life and whatnot, then I don't know if your one word's going to make any difference. And if I was to be honest, Debbie feels like she has lived the same life for the past 40 years. Her husband died. She raised this like Peter Pan, failed to launch loser. You know what I'm saying? Who I guess the one good thing he did is like, try and like bring over some crazy Colombian woman who then got them on a reality show. And then like thusly, it changed her life with this makeover. And now she gets access to things, and she is not only right now being given like a new relationship and sex, but a free fucking place to live. Which I will just say this. Well, later on in the season, it's this whole thing where she has to move, right? And she's upset because she's supposed to move in with one of her friends, and then later on, the friend's like, "Just kidding, you can't move in with me because you have cats and I have dogs." And she gets really upset, like, "Oh, my friend went back on her word." You're just like, "Oh, well, okay, first of all, like, you're 70, can you like get your own space?" And also, yeah, she has dogs, you have cats, and so like her dogs win and your cats don't.
Yeah, but that's also really shitty. Like, don't say yes to somebody and then say no. Like, think about it before you give somebody that response. Now, I'm not saying the person should have just like dealt with it and not told Debbie that they were against it, but like also that person's like fucking irresponsible. Don't say yes to someone with fucking cats. If there's one thing about Debbie and everyone in the world knows about her, is that she has cats. She has a lot of them, and she also like keeps the remains of them. So like for you to not think about that when you said yes that she can move in with you, and she's 70, I don't imagine she wants to live by herself in any kind of large space. Like she just needs she really truly just needs like a 1 bedroom in a like senior assisted home space where she has like her friends and in her own space at the same time. But yeah, she is really mad about it, and I can get why. But then here comes Tony to save the day.
Yeah, here comes like, slightly fit Santa, like slightly fit Canadian Santa is how I would describe him. Like they're moving fast. He's just like, "Look, you're going to come. I want you to visit me in Canada. So like you could also just like see if you want to live up here." And so she freaking is like, "All right, well, I will. I'll go up there and see what it's like." And so she goes up, and she like meets some of his friends, and he very much is always validating to when she's like, "Is the chemistry still there?" And he's like, "Yeah, it is." Like he very much is like, "Yeah, I've also been alone and I have my space." When she gets to his apartment's like bananas. It looks like half of like what like was like dream apartment would be like in high school, which is like a Halloween themed weirdo place. What?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the dragons. Let's talk about the dragons, and let's talk about the purple Christmas tree. Okay. So is it an apartment? I thought it was a house. I don't know. But like there's a dresser in the hallway, which just like reminds me of like my childhood, just like dresser of clothes in a random spot, especially when you have like a bunch of people living in a home because like certain family members are displaced. And so you like get like a dresser from the Goodwill so that they can put their clothes in a dresser, but you don't have any space in any room for the dresser. So you just put it in the hallway. I love it. Also, like she'd like skirt around this dresser, but all the dragons everywhere. Listen, I don't care if you want a purple house and you like fetishize Asian men. If you collect anything and you would like to put it around your home, at least make it all make sense. He had like Thai dragons, he had Chinese dragons, he had like dragons from like the Game of Thrones dragons. Like, stay on theme with your dragons, okay? Different cultures pick dragons in different ways, and he was just all over the place. But I saw what he was going for, and it's just as somebody who's interested in things. He's like, anytime I go anywhere and I see a dragon, I have to pick it up.
I
Just
wonder
like
if
Spella.
liked Puff the Magic Dragon
I think so.
lived by the sea
I think
and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Okay, great.
I think he did. So she gets up there, he clears a drawer for her and buys her lingerie. I mean, what else do you need?
It was good lingerie too. Like I felt like it was like, it was reasonable lingerie. It was like she like had like one thong and she was like, what way do you put it? It's like, by the way, my Debbie is going into Jenny and I'm like, I gotta like stop it. Okay. And then the other one was like this like hipster or whatever.
Me and Coles. I can't do it. Me.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, like when I say his name, like yeah, his name is the way I can get into it, I guess. Hot. Whatever. Yeah, like he was so happy about giving her the dresser, and yeah, like there's also a sweater. So he didn't just buy her lingerie, he also bought her a sensible sweater,
So he meets with Cole and everything ends up being okay. And then she has to tell him that she's moving, and everyone's like, oh, you're moving a little quickly. And she's like, we're fine between me and Tony. It's fine between me and Tony. And then she moves up there, and then for the tell-all, she comes down from Canada to go to the tell-all, and I think Tony's at the tell-all as well. I didn't see that part of it, but she is so antagonistic to all of the cast members at the tell-all. I can't ask a question. I'm like, you can't ask the same question 5 times, and you can't put your stupid judgment on it. You've lived no life, Debbie. Don't judge anybody and their circumstances. Like, let's just, you be happy with this red hair, them titties and that tattoo, and your man in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, no, she comes in more than hot. It's like the producers were like, Debbie, you're the star of the season. Just so you know, it's you, honey. You are the one. I mean, a star is born, Debbie, and they're like, but now your time, honey, is to shine. I'm like, did they give her an earpiece? I feel like they must have been like behind the camera. They must have been like, Debbie, go in on her. And Debbie was like, like, right, Tanya, or whatever it is, like it was everyone. She had a comment for everything, like, meanwhile, one of the hardest scenes happens during the tell-all because so obviously she's been having this problem with Colt and Vanessa. Vanessa? And they had, they were living together, and then they were like, you're in a business, and then like leave, and they haven't been talking. And now she kind of does this thing, by the way, because I don't want to blame one or the other. I think they're both, by the way, in a Grey Garden style relationship where it's like, or Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, where they're putting on a show and they fight for people, and it's just like absolute maniacal mental illness just afoot, like for both people. I think they both have like a symbiotic relationship where they like push and pull on each other, and I mean, like, watching it like truly made me like cringe on the inside. Anyway, so yeah, and this happens in the season, she and Colt have a argument when he has to move his stuff out when she's moving into Tony's, when he comes down to like help pack things up, and she's like narrowly packed a thing possible, which is like, it was low-key a little bit like me going to help Wah pack. Just kidding. No, Wah had packed. So when Wah had to move from California to where she lives now, so, which by the way, I came and like helped her because I'm like basically like the Tony of her life. I'm like a skinny Santa. So anyway, God bless. So Colt is like mean to her then, and is like, but she's also mean back. She's like, I don't know what you want from me, Coty. And he's like, I just want you to be like a mom. He's like, well, I've always been a mom. And he's like, weird. And then she does do a dig where she's like, your dead dad would hate you or something like that. You like disrespected your dead dad. And he like, whatever. He
Because
should
he took the dad's, like, ashes from the house. He took Harvey's ashes. I don't know
Yeah,
why
but
he
she
would
said
do
he
that.
could, like he said he was going to, and then what she was mad about it that he didn't like come and be like, "Well, mom, I'm doing it tonight, so meet me at the bookcase at 6:03, and you can hand him over to me. We'll do a ceremony. I'll bring the sage." She was mad about that. So then whatever. So then when he comes to the tell-all, he's really pissed or whatever, and it's like really shitty this conversation where he just like blames her for things, but then the whole cast is like, "But you're a fucking baby tool that wouldn't leave." And he's like, she wouldn't let me leave. Like, no, you could have just left, you weirdo. Like, you're a grown-ass man, fucking leave. And he kind of like gets that. But then what also happens is that Tony, I mean, in his mind turns off and is like, I'll never talk to this person again, and nor should Debbie. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, that's where you're gonna fuck up, Tony. You cannot write off this person. You don't have the ability to. She
The
does.
authority. Yeah, and you can't force her to do so.
Yeah,
And
but he's
also,
trying
like,
to.
is Colt being that bad to her? To where she needs to write off her son and the last 10 years of her life?
It's both of them because like she like pries him and then she's like, he's being so mean to me. And he like cries in a Tony's thing, like boo hoo 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 hoo. And then it's like, Tony, don't hate him. Boo hoo 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 hoo. It's like everything is so crazy. And he looks like such a goddamn like hairy thumb just sitting there. Oh my God. So then Vanessa is like, just straight up, he's a baby. Like I thought you did a lot for him. I don't even you literally licked his butthole at home every night. I don't know he makes me do a lot. I don't know if it was that. But like she has to cook and clean, like everything, like, like he is a monster baby that just wants to sit home and play video games and then is like also horny when he's horny. I mean, he's truly gross, but a gross monster that she raised, and so like I think that they were probably a perfect match together, which is why they lived together for so long and also in a love-hate relationship. But honestly, the healthiest thing possible is for her to move to a whole brand new country. And I think that it's going to be ultimately his demise. I think he's not gonna this relationship is going to like not last. I think it's on death's door now, like
Him and Vanessa?
yeah. I think that he's not. When I think that he's a little bit like a psychopath, and I think that she has border. I think that she has a personality disorder, and I think that he also maybe has like I don't know. I think they're both fucking crazy. I think they have mental illnesses.
Vanessa and him?
No, Debbie and him.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, because Larissa kind of alluded to some of this. Like, he like doesn't like Debbie does everything for him. Like, cook for him, she washes up afterwards. Like, he doesn't have to do anything. I remember he was just working that job and like coming home and just like probably playing video games and like no cares in the world and playing with cats, and then like wasn't having sex, and then like now he's having sex, but he's like always horny and he just like wants to fuck all the time, but then like he is not cleaning up after himself and doesn't wash any dishes. Like, oof, could you imagine?
Also has a tiny,
Yeah,
tiny, 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 tiny
I
penis.
forgot about the tiny
Tiny,
penis.
tiny, tiny, tiny.
Wow.
Remember one part of Debbie is that when she is in Canada and she's like cooking and he's like, I do things a particular way, and when I make an omelet, I put everything in. She's like, no, I think you should like cook the vegetables first. I want everyone to know that she was right.
Oh, I've never thought about it. I don't remember that scene either. But yeah, I mean, do we think we'll get a season 2 of, or do we think we'll get a 90-day fiance, because technically Tony's from another country? Do we get a toe? Do we get Debbie and Tony on toe?
Oh my God, it's toe. You're right. It's toe. It's toe. And we haven't had a toe in a minute.
Yeah.
She's toe material.
Yes.
We're gonna tell that Debbie.
We love it. We
Talk
love
about here I come,
it.
yeah, like and yeah, I want the best for her, but like the scene with Colt made me also think that like she's no saint. He's also crazy because she raised him and like they had like a crazy relationship. It was like hard to watch. I also eh, there's a part of me that, because I'm distrustful of men, I'm like, it is very fast. What is Tony's agenda?
Oh, because he's old. They don't need to wait. Like, why would they wait? Like, I can't wait till I get to an age where I could just literally do whatever without people telling me I need to think. Do you know that my move here, people were like, oh, like everyone kept telling me, oh, that weather, as though like they were telling me a bit of information that A, I didn't know, and B, like you should really think about whether or not you want to live there. They act like I was moving to the Yukon. They act like I was going on alone and just going to live out in the wilderness in the snow by myself. And I'm like, there are people who live in Minneapolis and Minnesota for generations now who have managed to survive in the snow. And also, did you want me to say no to this job opportunity in order because of the weather? Like, how stupid does that? Like, people just, it's really interesting to me how whenever you say you're going to do anything, someone always comes up with a negative immediately, and they think they're being helpful. And and it's just so. At some point, I just stopped telling people, and then people were like, "Oh my god, you moved," and I was like, "Oh yeah." I just stopped telling people because so many people would be like, "Oh my god, isn't it snow there?"
You know, it's a really good point because I feel like there is a thing where people are sometimes naturally negative and they don't even realize it. There's just a way of that people can just in a habit react with negative feedback, negative commentary all the time. And like it's to everything. And it's like almost ingrained in them in their mindset. It's really apparent because yeah, it's like you have to stop you have to be mindful to stop yourself of like not also doing it to yourself but then putting it on other people.
Yeah,
You know, if someone has an idea, if someone has a plan, if someone has a dream, they're saying it's like if your natural reaction is like that won't work, that's dumb, have you thought about this, how could that, what, you know, it's like all of that is a negative reaction. No, it's like screaming no at someone. It
yeah.
can
I mean,
yeah.
and I have it too. Like whenever someone tells me something that's harebrained, if I love them, I'm usually I'm gonna be like, well, what about this? Like what about that? But it's not gonna be something stupid like weather. It's like, oh, I got a job promotion. Yeah, and we're gonna move to Minnesota. Oh, but it snows. Like, really? You think you could live there? And then I just fucking say I was moving to Minnesota because I do think I can fucking live there. Like, like,
Yeah, what if you were just like, wait, what?
yeah.
What kind of weather?
Yeah. Like, "Oh my god, thank you so much for telling me. You know, I'm not gonna sorry, I'm just gonna stay stagnant where I am right now." It's just fucking snow. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that, and I know that I'm that person, but it's also because I think of myself as being a realist, but, like, for certain decisions, like Debbie choosing to move to Canada to be with a man at the age of 70, yes, I would have questions, but would I tell her and be like, well, maybe you should think about it for a while? Like a 21-year-old, I'd be like, maybe you should get to know that person a little bit more because you don't know what's going to happen. It feels like you're just moving in like full speed ahead. But after a while of them saying it and me seeing how excited they are, I'd be like, shrug my shoulders. I don't care. Yeah, go ahead and do it. I don't care. Yeah, I know. That sounds dumb to me, but like, okay. I mean, I wouldn't say that to them, but like, yeah, because I'm so used to people doing that to me, like it is bananas the stupid things that people have said to me. So I just stopped telling people, and then they're like, oh, I can't believe you moved. And even then, when I went home to see my parents, or when I went home this weekend, they're like, oh yeah, how's that snow? Are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm dead. This is my ghost.
You know, I know what you're saying, but also maybe there's because specifically your parents are Southern California people, except for your dad. But your dad comes
No,
from
my parents didn't even do that. It's other people. It's like it's not my parent. My parents were just like, "Oh, congratulations!" And then
okay.
afterwards, my dad did a deep dive on Minnesota, and then starts just giving me facts. I mean, how many lakes there are? Like, he checks the weather in Minnesota every morning.
Oh, that's
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he knows when it snows. He knows that rhymes. He knows when
I
it
know.
snows. And my mom is like, "Oh well." Do you think that, she's asking like practical questions just because for her, it's like, I've never done anything. Like, so it's like, well, okay, well, oh, this, and this. Okay, that I got a sweater. Oh, good, you got a good sweater. Okay, well, okay. Whereas like other people were just like, oh, I couldn't do that. I'm like, wow, that you sound lame. Anyways, let's move on to our. Do you have anything else to say about them? Because we've been talking about them.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I just want to cleanly end that at the end of the tell all, like they've gotten into a fight on stage, and then they like sort of hug and make up behind stage, like and Debbie's like, "I love you," whatever, and Corey's like, "I still want to talk to you, just because we don't want you to like hear us have sex in the room next to you, like we still want to talk to you or whatever." And this is when Tony like won't talk to Colty, like as if Tony like, and then Debbie's like, "Please look at him," whatever, and it's like Tony won't or whatever, and so
No
like,
way. You just went Irish. Do it again.
I'm sorry.
Please look at him.
Please,
Please look at him.
look at him, look at Corty I made, whatever. So, yeah. So like, yeah, Tony is just like is like pissed at Colty for what he did to the mom, and maybe it's because he has to be the one that like deals with Debbie, and the way that he deals with Debbie is just like just like forget about it, just like don't think about what just happened, just forget about it, and just like stop thinking and stop reacting to it. And she's like, I know I have to, whatever, like I don't know, God bless. I there's something about the way that he deals with it. There's like, I don't know. And she kind of hints that maybe things aren't perfect. She thinks that maybe things aren't perfect because she's having issues with like either her green card or stuff like that. But like I kind of want to know more. Maybe we will on Toe. So but I kind of wish they had teased that. So let's move on to honey. Natalie.
Moink.
Those eyes, honey, those legs, honey, that hair, honey. I love Natalie. I'm gonna say that it's like Natalie, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Natalie's becoming my favorite cast member.
She infuriates me, but she's very entertaining.
Yes.
Like it's also the reason why she infuriates me, and like I mean, Chris can attest to this, and like I am very uncomfortable around women that I perceive to be insecure. Because in my experience, an insecure woman is like a feral cat, and you never fucking know what they're gonna do. They're friendly sometimes.
Yeah.
But then when their insecurities come up in them, they like their brain switches over into wildcat behavior. And like then I'm like, oh my God, this person's not a person I should be friends with. I told them too much, and now they're insecure and they're feeling some kind of way about me specifically. So they might just tell everybody my fucking business. Like that is what Natalie represents to me, just like a like a wily person who like isn't quite on solid ground. And I get nervous around that kind of energy of like, I'm 35 years old and sometimes I like to skip in places because I want people to pay attention to me and think I'm so young and girly. Like, I'm like, stop it. You're a grown adult. Like, you skipping through the like and like oh thank you, I'm going on Hollywood tour and so I'm in Hollywood, oh look at me, like that is like from that energy is like I don't get it. I'm like she's the kind of girl that would leave you at a party. You and her go to a party together. She tries to one up you slightly whenever you're talking to men, so you guys could be talking to men, but she's very flirtatious when you know for sure that she's not gonna have sex with not nary one of these men. You will, because you're just like, I'm down, I'm DTF. But Natalie won't, but she's gonna tease the shit out of the situation, take all the tension away from you, and so then leaves with some guy and then calls you crying because the guy doesn't want to take her out on a date before she has sex. Like literally is what, like as soon as I meet a girl like that, I'm like, I can't go. We're not friends.
Thank you. She is so verbally, she says the things and she says the baby immature, like irrational immature thoughts I have in my mind out loud in dating, that I like. I'm on Instagram, so I'm well read when it comes to Instagram psychology, and I have labeled myself many things. One thing is an anxious attachment syndrome. And oh my goodness, does this girl have anxious attachment syndrome? And so, but like to the extreme. So watching her is like all of it. Like her, like, if I sleep with a man, like, like I think of him as the father of my kids, like just like every part of like her wanting so bad. Wait, I'm sorry. Jason? What is the name of this model guy?
I think his name
Okay.
is Jason. Let's call him that.
No, it's goddamn. It's like Mike and it's so funny because the majority of the season's about him, and I think he's such a toolbox, and like I don't know what his name is, and yeah, t- I yeah.
Call him Jason.
Jason. So, like, this guy like wants to pretend he's like either a model manager, a model producer, that he has a condo in LA and has a home in Scottsdale, but the home in Scottsdale actually is also his ex-wife and baby mama's home as well. That he's super rich and drives fancy cars, but like they're staying in like one bedroom, normal booked rooms in the Mondrian. Like it's interesting what he wants to like pretend, and that he's incredibly busy, but Natalie, the first episode is Natalie, of course, just like on a double decker bus, like TMZ bus, like around LA, being like, I'm so happy to be here, like up and down Sunset Honey, just like being the touristy of tourists, like seeing Hollywood, seeing the stars. And then, yeah, like then she's gonna go meet with him, and she's just like so excited and like, but also insecure because he makes her insecure because he's just like always around models, and he wants eh, he's I think honestly if I was to be honest with you, fully on the show because he knows what Hollywood is and he gets to be on a show.
Yeah, but also he's never told her that he wanted to be exclusive. She's just always expected him to want to do that at some point. And it's like day 2, they're on a casual ass date where she's wearing like a 90s string silky dress with like billowiness up here and super high heels. And her whole thing with Mike is that she didn't want that man to have a beer and full on drinking tequila. Then blames him for being drunk and saying that you made me drink. And he's like, not even dressed up on their second date. Their first date was them golfing on some other show, spinoff of the show. And like, she's like, we want commitment. And he's like, it's way too early for commitment. It's way too early to have a conversation of commitment. And she's like, well, then what are we doing here? You either want to be my boyfriend or no. And I'm like, what world are you living in where like a guy, you go on a second date with him and he's your boyfriend? It's
Uh,
delusion.
I see. Yeah, listen. There are generational and cultural things. There are. She's coming from a. I can feel like I know her so well. She's coming from this mindset. I'm great. I like you. You like me. What the fuck is the problem?
Well, you're not 20 and this isn't the 90s.
Those are just, I mean, why not? Why can't I be as simple as that? Why do you need to like still be on the prowl? The truth of the matter is this, Wah, and I feel this way. If you meet someone you think is fucking great and they treat you and validate that they also feel that way around you, then why? And you like want to be with them because of that. I'm not saying you run and get married, but why would you be like, okay, I'm just gonna still date though? Unless you're like, well, this person's in the current that everyone's so great all the time that they're just coming up with option after option that like this one isn't uh in any way high value or any way different than the others. But what I'm
I think
saying,
it's the time commitment. I think that when you choose to be in a relationship with somebody, you're choosing to pivot from your current lifestyle and cadence to a life where you're like catering or thinking about them. Like that is what it means to me. Like if I met somebody and I thought they were great and I wanted to be with them and they wanted to be with me, I would still need time to like fully integrate them into my life, and that might be slower than what they would want. Like you can't be at my home every night. Like maybe you could, but like and I feel like Natalie is clingy. She's not a like even if he was like, yeah, I want to kind of lock it down with you. I would like for us to be exclusive. He knows that she would just be crazy.
I see what you're saying. It's also this mentality. If you don't want, it should be this. You should like me. You should like me and you should want me to be with you if you recognize my inherent, like, if you recognize that we're a good match. And if you don't let me know that and validate how sincere you feel like our connection is, and what and that you want a relationship in the future, and it looks like it could be with me, then you run the risk of me dating other people and or being with someone else and you losing what would be a great catch. But the game then comes in where you have to like act like you have other suitors and you're not 100% into just one person, and definitely don't have sex with them right away. That's why those old fashioned things come up of like, it's not, and there's one way of doing it, which is like weirdly trying to play a game, or B, actually having a life and making sure that you're dating other people so that your eggs are in one basket, so that you don't feel desperate and clingy, so that you know that in and that there is this natural sense of competition, so that the guy wants to try and lock you down to be exclusive, because the other option is that he doesn't get you and someone else does.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what it feels like, and I have always I feel this way all the fucking time, which is why I get it. Now, she says it in the crazy immature way she does. She's like, "I'm so beautiful. He should be so happy." Like like that's just like the Natalie immature way of like feeling like her worth isn't validated by someone who should feel a little lucky to have found her.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, right? He doesn't. His actions are obvious. He doesn't feel that lucky to have found her. And every time in which a man kind of like is a little laissez-faire, it feels like they don't think that they're slightly lucky to have found you. And if they don't feel slightly lucky to have found you, it's kind of a shitty feeling, because it's hard to date. It's hard to find a connection. So if you feel like you have a connection with me and I feel like I have one with you, if you don't feel slightly lucky that that happened to you, that it's not a little different than other things, then yeah, then you're going to treat me like you treat anything else, in and
Yeah,
out.
that's true. Yeah, I think I can see that. I guess I just think sometimes I don't like the fact that Natalie simply based on the fact of her physical appearance, because she actually kind of has a shitty personality.
Yes, you're right. She
And
does.
I and it is like sometimes I feel like women, I mean, I know men treat women like this, and like sometimes it doesn't matter what your personality is. They are going to want you because they think that you're hot.
Hmm.
But as Natalie says in this episode that we're talking about right now, is that she's been married 3 times, and so she's failed 3 times, and so she recognizes that she's bad at this. But like there's like, because she wants Josh to feel shitty about his divorce too, and he's
Josh,
like, no, I don't feel this way.
Josh
She's
is
like,
his name.
oh, Josh, yes, yes, yes. She wants Josh to feel shitty about his divorce or
Josh.
whatever. And he's like, no, I don't feel that way. She's like, well, no, I feel way. I married 3 times and I feel. Like, and I'm like, yeah, but maybe you should give yourself and everybody else some grace, and like, maybe you shouldn't marry so quickly, and like, obviously you're not the best at it, and like, you don't know exactly what it entails. Like, I just like, what does Natalie bring to any relationship? That's what I want to know. And I hate to say that, because that's that thing that men say all the time, but the truth is like, I know what I bring. I bring the funnies, I bring the organizational skills, I bring I think also I do bring the looks. Like, I know that when you and I walk into a space, because when I'm by myself, people look at me. So if I'm with you, people are looking at the both of us. And that's thanks to me. Like, I'm aware of that, but that's not the thing that I lead with. Like, the thing that I lead with is like whether or not you and I could have a good conversation, a healthy conversation, and like about a gambit of things, including our feelings. So, anyways.
Yeah, but Natalie brings, I'm gonna say this. I'll tell you what Natalie brings. She brings the looks, which she obviously talks about, and she brings the fame. That
Mm,
guy's not famous.
yeah.
And he's in the world of which he would like to be, probably. And so the access that one gets when you're mildly famous is a little more than others. Like, she could, if she wanted, I don't know, like if she wants to go to dumb, skanky kind of like PR parties for the rest of her life, she could. And I'm not saying it's a great life, but it's probably something that he would want to do too. Some of those like dumb ones. You know what I'm saying? I think that they could like if she does bring that. Now, I'm not saying that that's a great option for every man, but Josh seems like that would be into it, you know, but he also wants to play cool guy, and he also wants to play like really he cosplay this like very busy businessman. I'm a busy businessman, always
You don't
running
think
here,
he's
always
busy?
running. He like doth like thou doth protest too much. I feel like if you're that busy, you probably weren't on a reality show that much.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I believe that he's busy, but I also feel like he has to recognize that she's not a good match for his kids. She's not a good match for a lot of social circles because she's so clingy. And what kind of conversations is she going to be having with people? You know, like you always talk about this, like you bring this kind of like conversation and like air when you're with somebody at like a business event or whatever. Natalie is gonna bring the like bimbo energy. I think, like, I don't know if she's like smart and learned about things. It's like you just never know how she's gonna behave. Josh, I want to go home. You're not paying attention to me. And he's like, I'm talking to people. Can you go talk to the wives? She wouldn't be able to go talk to the wives.
Oh, absolutely not, unless it was well, especially because, well, his business is models, and so literally he's just like, I guess, surrounded by like hot women all the time, and so I don't think it would ever work out, and I don't know exactly why she has dug her nails into Josh, like in the sense of, okay, so let's just say yes, he's mildly attractive. He's attractive. He's more attractive than Mike. Okay, I don't know, you know, like to some maybe, I don't know. He's definitely more like polished than Mike. You know, Mike is like a country
Polished,
bumpkin.
yeah.
You know, and so also Mike has put on some pounds, and so he's not as early. You know, they showed Mike talking to her mom. I was like, oh, remember, like Mike was cuter. I think that
Mhm.
he's worried a storm, and that storm was Natalie. So,
Oh yeah, let's just get to them. We're still talking about Josh. Let's get to the fact that she goes back to Squeam.
oh yeah, so it basically, obviously, you do Ukraine war breaks out, and Josh, for all of Josh's, come visit me here, and I'll spend 2 days with you, but stay and put you in an Airbnb, and you can meet one person. And here's my hot wife who tells you how I date only young women, you know, blah blah blue, blah blah blue. Like that person and all his money and all his like busy businessman shit doesn't offer her anything for her like life, and her mom like doesn't. He won't even like. I don't know. I think that he is gross. I really don't like him. But Mike is, you
Mike
know, in
reach outs to her and is like, "Hey,
love with
how's
her.
Mama doing? How's everything going?" And she's like, "Oh, me, Mike." And then Mike ends up sending Mama some money so that she can leave whatever part of Ukraine she's in to get to safety. And so Natalie feels like internally indebted to him, and she says that Josh didn't say shit to her about it.
Yeah,
Not boo hoo, didn't offer anything. They didn't have a conversation about it. And right then and there, that is when she should just let Josh go.
I
I
know.
don't understand why she is continuing to entertain. I was actually shocked that he was at the tell-all
Yeah,
because I was like, why would you not let him go? So then she goes to Squim and she gets really excited because she actually hasn't been back to Squim. She says in a year. I feel like it's been 2 years, but she hasn't been back in a while. And she's like telling the producer like everything. She's like breaking the fourth wall and like fully talking to the producers about like how excited she is. She's like, it's Squim. Over there is Squim. Oh, I haven't been on ferry in a long time. Oh, this is so many memories. She gets off and she like goes around picking flowers and she like brings him some flowers and it's like, hello, Mike, and gives him a hug and goes in the
wait,
house
wait.
and it's just
'Cause the flowers she brings him are like she bought them from like Home Depot. I don't know. She like went to a flower shop, potted plastic
mhm.
flowers, like, you know, like with the dirt, like you're supposed to put right into the soil. Honey, it's like not like it's like
Yeah.
I went to a garden and picked this for, you know, it's like it's anyways, that's just
But I thought it was sweet because then they can plant them and then like she could add to like the wildflowers that are like whatever in his land. So she gets there and she like, look, this is the trailer and it's so beautiful here. And she gets into the house and she's really nice and appreciative of everything. And then she notices all of the tchotchkes and the knickknacks and she's like, oh, this Trish. Trish is here. So she finds out that Trish lives there. So Trish has uprooted herself from Oklahoma and moved to Squeam to be with Mike because Mike has fallen to a very deep depression after Natalie left. He is not okay. So Mama picks up and fucking moves to Squim to be with him so that she could like give him some love. And that to me like is so sweet. It's little Debbie and Colty and Debbie, but not because she already lived in another state. She lived in Oklahoma. So like and she lived there for a while because her home was full of tchotchkes. I can't remember what was the thing she was obsessed with. Anyways, so Natalie and Mike, like, she hugs him. There's a lot of feelings that are going back and forth. She asks for her birth certificate and certain documents. He has it all ready for her. And then they go outside. The dog doesn't know her, and she's
Her
upset about
rat.
that. Yeah, she's upset about that. And then they sit down and she's like, Mike, I'm so sorry. Will you take me back? And he's like, I don't know, Natalie. And he wants to say yes, but he knows that what she's done is fucked up and that he can't just say yes to that. He has the wherewithal to just be like, I don't know. This is really confusing. And she starts to cry and she apologizes to him and tells him that she was crazy and she understands that, and that, and then she ends up saying in her confessional, like, I make like something to alluding to the fact of like she makes Mike look good. Like she brings Mike
Oh,
should be
I
lucky.
am legendary woman for Mike.
Yes,
No,
yes.
for Mike, I am the one. He'll
Yeah.
never think anyone else but me. For always me. I'm legendary.
Yeah, he can't get any better than me.
For
And
Josh,
I'm like,
no. Josh has many. I spit in bucket for Josh, but for Mike, yeah.
yeah, she's like, so why did I never leave this guy? And she said that she was going through a depression because of the change in scenery and it's being cold, and she gained weight, and like, and I can see that. She acknowledged a lot of her, like, excuse me, truly shitty behavior, which I gave her compliments for doing. I thought that was good of her. Um, and then Trish comes there and reads her fucking rights. Trish is like, you scammer, scamming ass, Eastern European scamming ass, skinny ass bitch. You came here and you used my son for a green card, and then you just bounced. Why would you do that to him? Why? You look me in my face and you tell me why. And she sits there and takes it. She truly does. And then finally, Mike has to put an end to it. And he's like, all right, mom, that's enough. He let her go in. And then she gets up and she like immediately starts bawling in Mike's arms. And so when she leaves him, she says, don't answer now, Mike. Don't answer. Yes or no. Don't answer now. Just think about it. Can I come home? I want to come home. I love you. I miss my life here. And scream. And so then she leaves, and we think that we're going to see them at the tell-all as a happy couple. And it fucking turns out that she's still trying to choose between Mike and Josh. And the entire cast is like, there's no choice. You are still married to someone. What do you mean you're choosing?
Yeah, literally, you have one guy who has like cookie crumbed you this entire season, where like you have gotten nothing that you've wanted from this man, but a lot of like absolute nothing that he is trying to turn into like, well, it's just I'm trying to figure out, like I think that he's such a gross tool. Like he is the epitome, I think, of dating in LA. Like he gives me that. I mean, like he took me to so many places where I'm like, oh, this is why I'm single. I feel like I'm single because of this kind of person. But anyway, so where he, like they try and act like they're just, it's the same where it's like, yeah, we're just trying to act like to see like how things go and everything like that. But you don't want to put a label on anything. But like, it's because you are manipulating the situation so you don't have to commit or have any responsibility. And at the end of the day, it's incredibly unattractive. It goes against, I don't know, some of the more like traditional things that you want from a man who's like going to be like able to take on something and like have some sort of responsibility and like can get something done, like everything
Girl,
about what?
talk about Natalie. You just keep going in on how much you hate Josh. We know you hate Josh, girl. What about Natalie's culpability and the fact that she's still married she's the problem.
Natalie is, I think, incredibly selfish. And I think that you nailed it on when you like she's like a feral cat. She's like always cornered and gonna pick herself and her own health. She's like a survivalist mode. I mean, like it feels like, yeah, she's just a woman in survivalist mode and will do whatever it takes to get to the next day. And so when she needs Mike to get the next day, she'll do it. This is why this whole time in the tell all, she's like, Mike, it'll never be me that files for a divorce. If you get divorced, it'll be you, because she always wants to be able to ask Mike for something. And she always wants to feel his undying love and devotion. Even she feels it and she wants to feel it. She wants to have it there, to have it like to rest her head at night knowing that somewhere in Squim there's a man that's like thinking of her, that wishes that she'd be there, that like that idolizes her in her female form, and puts it above all other, like especially that hairdresser that he actually should be with, the one that would like give him like the good titty hair washes, you know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
But also Mike has a Confederate flag. So at the same time, oh, you know what? Well, it's so funny. I never saw it, but people on Instagram talk about it all the time.
Oh.
That like in one part of his house or some other part, and there was something that from episodes past where like that existed. It's so interesting because he's he's definitely backwoods, but sometimes you have, for me, I have like the somewhat stereotypical idea of like, but he's from the north, he's from the north of the west. There's northwest Confederate people, like it seems, but there is just crazy fucking hateful people everywhere. So I think that as much as he is depressed and alone at night and is sad, he also is a pussy whipped boy who will let this woman walk all over him for the rest of his life and give her money. And I think that his mom is low key embarrassed. And in the tell all, she's like, he's getting a divorce. Well, he's over him. Well, he's 75% over her. And I mean, I think that Trish wishes to God that she had someone as a son that could just like leave.
What else happens in the tell-all?
Okay, so basically, again, Trish goes in on Natalie, and Natalie doesn't say one thing. And in the end, it's just basically like, Trish, you are my mother-in-law, so I can't say anything that disrespect you, so I won't say anything at all. She does. That's what she says. Trish really can't say anything at all. They never talk about Hookergate. They sort of in clips like be like, well, this would happen in their story, but like, just to bring up like, and remember when you told me that you were a hooker? Like no one talks about that. Like she is very much as like, yeah, you're a scammer. You like literally left right after you got married. You never loved him. And through the tell-all, they have, Josh on one couch and they have Mike on the other, and they keep asking Natalie, like, who do you like? Who do you love? Who do you love? And she basically is also like, she basically says that, they ask her if she was in love with Mike, and she says, I think about it, and no, only because how could I love someone and do what I did to him, which is like,
A non-answer.
yeah, it's a non-answer, especially for someone who wants to keep him hanging on. Oh, set him free. Why don't you, girl? Like she won't. And at the time, he does not want to be set free. If he has a hook in his mouth, he's not a fish. He's a grown ass man who won't just be like,
Wow.
He
She
sees
says,
her coming, and he's like, he can't wait.
oh
And
my
Trish
God.
knows it. God. It's really embarrassing. Josh the whole time is like, well, I don't know what she wants, and this, but like, suppose it felt like the whole tell all that like, and they were like, when did you talk to Josh? And they're like, and she was like, last night. I feel like they fucked last night in New York somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, so she just sat on that couch. But she said early on in the tell all, like, that she was going to have two men fighting over me the whole time. And she very much, I feel like, loved it that was happening. And then also just cried a lot she just cried a lot, and just would get mad at people. I mean, I mean, it does also seem like that she has a imbalance of some kind as well. Like she's hot. I mean, she's a little, maniac. She's like a little, she goes back and forth, and her like pouting and like her like petulance, and her, especially because she really will pout and have a petulance about her that it feels like, girl, you're 37. You are not 22. Like,
Yeah. And she's going to fuck around and wake up at like 50 and be trying to like feed herself. Like that is what her life is going to be. She's going to like, it's not clicking in her head right now. She says she wants kids, but truth is she would be a terrible mother.
Oh my god, I can't I
She
can't
would
I
be
can't imagine.
horrible. She would guilt trip them. She would be passive aggressive.
And leave
She
them. She left those 3 animals and Mike's house just left.
Yeah. She would be a terrible mother. And like yeah, and so she would be, I mean, I can't even express how much she would be a terrible mother. And it's just really quite shocking how terrible
Yeah,
of a parent she would be. And so like she's just gonna be one of these girls, like, I mean, because right now her face is still with it, right? But she's gonna hit an age where it's not. And then she's gonna still be wearing the same crazy ass makeup. Could you imagine her just like 65, like just with raccoon eyes, just living in the heyday of 2020, you know?
yeah, no, I mean, like, her makeup look and her hair extension look were of a certain look for the tell-all. Her extensions were not blended at all, and her makeup very intense. I feel like she definitely used, and I hate to say it because it's gonna be sound whatever, she definitely used a non-American, makeup artist. It
Or
had
she
a
did it herself.
mm, maybe. Like, yeah, Natalie wants so badly and has always wanted to be living the high life. She wants Birkin bags and Chanel's, and she wants to be hoity-toity, and she wants to like walk around and like, like be sexy and be like, like living like luxuriously, and she wants to be loved and always feel secure, and like she wants all of that so badly. And I get it's really, really hard to get, and
But
she
it's not
found
hard if you depend on not, I mean, not that it's not hard, but if for one moment she decided to actually depend on herself to get that stuff, then I think that she would have a little bit more aim in life. Like
yeah.
at some point, you can't just wait around for someone to marry you in order for that shit to happen. Like there are plenty of women who walk around and live the high life and have Birkin bags because they fucking earn it themselves.
She's not a businesswoman. Like you said, like she's very different from Yara, and I agree. Yara, was 1 second on US soil and was like already like repackaging Alibaba lip glosses and like trying to sell fashion. Like it was her first season.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Natalie like doesn't seem to have like a very like businessy sense about her, like she's an actress journalist, as we know, and
Then
you know
go into journalism. Then start a website. I mean, listen, I'm not a business person either. Don't get me wrong. I understand like even the idea of like a business stresses me out because I just don't know anything about it. But she has an audience now, and like she could be doing something. She could be doing something where she's like writing or I don't know. She could. I mean, yeah. So I guess my hardest thing with her is that you want this life, but you're not willing to personally work for it. You want someone to give it to you.
yeah, she does not want to work. It's why she didn't want to be a translator. She didn't want to be an English teacher, like that's why, like even the thought of working was just like an off offense to her and an insult when Trish told her.
Yeah. I mean, the translation portion, like, girl, that's the easiest thing. Like, even actors are servers. But if an actor could just be a translator or like a voice actor, like, I mean, the girl could do something.
No, yeah,
It's so wild.
Natalie was told, I think Natalie's mom is a little older, right? We talk about that, like Natalie's mom is older than Natalie. Like Natalie's mom looks older. I
89.
and I and
She looks
there's something
89.
about yeah, Natalie feels so old school. Like she really was raised like being told like the prettiest, skinniest girl always gets the biggest rock. And, like it's just that kind of like be the prettiest, skinniest girl, um, and be effervescent and lovely and you'll get married, whatever. But that has turned her into someone who is a desperate insecure person who then who plays at things, and so we get this like mask of someone who's fun and going to skip, but underneath it all is just like, I mean,
Yeah.
a shaking,
Yeah.
like mental person. So
Yeah.
Natalie's crazy. The whole tell all, I feel like she sits there thinking that it's like she's the belle of the ball and everyone's fighting over her. I feel like in her mind, it's really the Natalie show. I mean, her Instagram, speaks to someone with not a lot of like self-awareness of how she comes off. She really wants so badly to be seen as just like a sex pot, sex symbol, slash victim that's overcome.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and at this point, like, she should have just stayed with her last ex-husband, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she should have just, I don't know, hopefully they weren't, like, abusive in any kind of, like, way to her, but she's probably regretting the second divorce.
The one where they were doing IVF and then she like stopped and then because they were fighting, She
Oh, I
said
didn't know
that,
she was doing IVF.
yeah, she says that she wants children when she started trying to like get the shots with the second husband. You know,
Oh.
yeah, it's like she can't, the producers are gonna ask Mike, like, is there a chance of getting back? And he's like, well, I can't ever say never. I don't have a crystal ball, just like,
Oh, no, he said that?
oh yeah, of course. He won't even, like he just, yeah, I think that he just his in his mind, it's either no one or her. And it's interesting because I also feel like in a Caesar way that he might have more opportunities around her if he like lessened what he expected in his beauty standard wise for women.
Yeah, you think that he's caught up in that thing where he's yeah, where he's like, I really want a beautiful woman, so and beautiful women in my country aren't interested in me because of my financial situation, so I'm gonna go to Europe and find somebody. You think he's that guy?
Well, not really because they did meet by the way through friends. So they didn't meet on the internet. They
Oh
met.
yeah, I forgot they met because they have God's children that
That's
they
true.
share.
Yeah, exactly. So I just feel like I feel like he thinks that she's beautiful and like exotic, that she has not exotic in the way of like, well, exotic in the sense like different from him.
Mhm.
And yes, so we said that she's beautiful and that specifically that she is more beautiful than he is attractive and that around him the women that he sees aren't as beautiful as her.
Mhm, mhm,
I think
mhm.
that's I think that in his mind. And so I also think for that kind of like maybe there is something for that kind of depressed, insecure man that gets in a little bit to the emotional abusive cycle with someone who is hot and cold and fiery because that kind of fiery personality makes them feel like that person is a discerning person and when they actively choose to be with them it means more than someone who isn't crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the men
Ooh.
who love bitches thing.
Yeah.
The men who love bitches thing is if a woman's a bitch, then they're a fucking bitch because they hold themselves to a certain thing. They want certain things. So if a bitch decides to then choose you, well, then you must fucking have a high value. Because,
Yeah.
it's like there's whatever. I mean, which is probably why I also am so single because I am so too fucking nice to these men. Well, I'm too fucking nice. When I meet men, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And I should be like,
Just mild disdain. Like, to me, I how am I? Am I like that? I'm like, people always tell me that I'm like terse and or I just say whatever's on my mind and that I'm kind of like that can be off-putting. And so I try not to do too much, but like my initial reaction is that stupid like it, I'm not smart enough to be a good improviser. Like whenever I'm around my like improviser comedian friends, I feel like a layman. Like I feel like what people must feel like when they're around like regular people when they're around me because a lot of times like they're so much quicker than I am. But in like the regular world, I am jokes, 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 jokes. When I'm around my family, like they can't even catch up with me. When they get the joke, I've moved on to the next one. So like when I'm dating a guy, like that's what I love to do is I love that kind of funny, like quippy banter. And if guys can't keep up with it, they're weird. This is a guy who I was talking to online, and he said to me, he said, "Oh, I'm gonna go hang out with my family, and my family lives in St. Cloud." Right? That's what he put in the thing.
is
And
this
I
a
responded,
Minnesota thing? Just St. Cloud, Minnesota?
mhm. So I
Okay.
responded with, "Oh, that sounds like a place where Care Bears live." Like that's what I responded with.
Joke.
And like he already knows I'm not from here. So I don't and then like he didn't respond and it shows that he saw it and he didn't respond. So then like 3 hours later I respond to, "Whew, guess that joke didn't land. I hope you have a good weekend." Still didn't respond to that. And I'm like, I know I have to cut it off because I don't know if he truly didn't get the joke or he got it and he thought, oh, that's so stupid. People always say that. Maybe that's something someone always says about St. Cloud. But I'm like, you have to give me grace. I'm not from here.
He doesn't get it. And then he didn't know how to respond. Haha.
Care Bears?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, he didn't get it. It's obvious. But you know, for just to move things along, a polite haha would have been great. LOL.
Yes.
You know what you fucking do? You just Waz joke, you push it, and you go the haha part. So
Yeah.
easy, you know, like
That's it. And I'm just like, wow. And so I have to like disconnect from him. And I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna like disconnect and I'll be like, hey, you didn't laugh at my joke, and that's one of my criteria. So unfortunately I gotta go.
a huge red flag, a deal breaker. Basically, at the end of the tell all, Natalie is like doesn't make a decision. Josh doesn't make a decision. Mike is like, well, whatever, we'll see what happens. Trish, like, you know, I don't know. I don't
It's fuming. You know, those
fuming
double bangs
business.
are freaked out.
I want to know this. Who did Natalie go to dinner with that night when all three men were in New York?
She went with she went to dinner with Mike and then she like met up with Josh
Great
later on that
Josh.
evening at a
Oh my
club.
God. Yeah, 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 yeah. I hope they're all staying at the same hotel. Well, there we are. Well, anything else to say about that blonde firecracker?
No, besides I wish that I had actually watched every single I wish that I had the energy or the like I wish that I had the time to be better about watching this season because I think that it would have been a lot more soothing to my soul than HEA is right now.
I know it. I wish now looking back at both seasons, I wish we could have swapped out and whatever. But you know, reflection is hindsight is 2020, you know.
Yeah, and like also I think I just in my heart feel like we have 7 more episodes of HEA, not including the tell all.
I know it.
I just am like, what are they going to show us? We're already on episode 16, Chris. We've been doing this for 16 weeks.
I actually missed the last 2 weeks now going on. I have to do a live tomorrow. Literally, people are Instagramming me being like, you still do YouTube?
I mean, they've been doing that to me because I've just done wrap ups of the single life. 16 weeks. What is 16 divided by 4? 4 months. We have been talking about HEA for 4 months. 4 months.
But remember, mommy, the last season was so long too with Muhammad. I mean, like, they have too much footage. I mean, they just like
that's a 4-month-old. Like if we had given birth, we would fully have a 4-month-old child right now. We would also like that is more than a trimester of school. Like that is a season. We've literally gone through a full season.
Okay. And then you're like, it's more than a trimester. Yeah, it's a quarter.
Oh, a quarter's 4 months?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a quarter. And I know we have like at least a month more.
Don't remind me. Anyway, so it's been real, and by real I mean really great to
real long is what
part 2 with you guys. Well, I watched the majority of the entire season all today. I like had to finally get through it, and then I got through it. I was really on episode like 5, and I thought I had like 4 episodes to watch, and I realized I had like 14 to watch. So I just have been doing nothing all day but watching. Just like I haven't moved anything. I have like barely, but I will just say this: it's just like, yeah, I can't believe Debbie got what she wanted in the end. I can't believe life. We're just like to do a recap. So I can't believe that she did it. I'm happy for Tiffany. Tanya, like she's trying to find herself. When I say I'm happy for Tiffany, I just like I Tiffany has to find herself too. But I think Tiffany's gonna do the makeup stuff. Tanya's gonna find what her calling is. Natalie, her calling is to be on 90 Day Fiance. I hope she continues to do so. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like it does feel like her life is real. So it's like that's why I'm gonna give it to her. Like Libby and Andre, all that shit's so boring and horrible. Like even like Yara and Jovi, like their scenes this on HEA horrible. So thank you, Natalie. Spasiba, Natalie. Spasiba. Oh, that's Russian.
It is.
Damn. Anyway, so Walt wants to eat now, as we can tell. So
I've been eating all this time.
she was just excited to go. So if you this is the Patreon only, so we don't have to do our boring blobbity blues, like our boring, like outros. We love you guys. We're gonna say this right now.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here, for being a Patreon. And if you are new to our Patreon, if for some reason you joined just to watch the two, there'll be some fun things coming your way. We do a live the first Monday of the month, and we will start to do more shows for only Patreon too, but we have a lot more coming on the podcast as well. So by next on the docket, we have to think about what we want to do actually, right?
Yeah, I mean, we need another docu-series to do.
Yeah.
And show-wise, we're gonna go right on into Love After Lockup. I don't
Oh
know if
yeah.
that's coming on Friday or not.
Wait, does it premiere Friday?
They never give us a break. It's always like straight on. So I gotta look into that.
Can we do Meet the Cast or something?
Yeah, I'm down. I don't have anything to do any evenings. I go to work, so I can't plan things in the evenings like right now. It's too busy.
We'll listen. Our Patreon peeps, leave us a comment below what you think. Also tell us like what we thought of the season, and what you guys think and how much better you think it is than HEA. That's what I would say. We love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. And just if you haven't yet, share our podcast. We need some help. We want to get ads and stuff, so we just like need our numbers up. Blah blah blah. It's annoying. It's annoying as hell. But the good news is, the more money we make, the more we can devote our lives to creating content.
Yeah, I think what it is that we have to really get with Maddie and Poodle and do something, because I think when I got with them, I didn't have a podcast. So we still haven't done the Escape with Reality, so we're gonna have to like get with them and see.
Oh, maybe
them on
we
our
should
show.
meet the cast with. Oh my god, we should do Meet the Cast with them, or the first episode with them.
If they're doing it, I don't know if they're gonna do it or not. I'll ask them right now.
Okay.
But yeah, all right, you guys, thank you so much. It's 12:30. I gotta go to sleep. Chris, it's 10:30 for her, so she she can just go her normal sleep pattern. Just go. So happy
going to bed now. Great, because
Yeah.
I am an old lady.
All right,
we love you guys. Thank you.
We love you guys. Bye.
Bye.